Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yo, my people, how's everyone doing? Good, lovely. It is Zach. And to my right I have...
Miriam.
Zainab.
Imran.
Hamzah.
Yasser.
Samira. Zainab.
Lovely. From what I remember, this is our second episode of The Power of Being.
Okay.
The topic of conversation today is
Men
and mental health.
I'm going to kick it off with the basics. In regards to men, a lot of men suffer. There is a high population actually of male suicide rates compared to females. Men do not actually talk and open up as often as females do. However, that's not every male.
Okay.
So men tend to suffer more than actually females, but you can't say suffer more in that sense. So I work mainly with males and look after them. There is a high population of, I would say, 18 to 25 year olds.
Okay.
I see 18 to 60, more of 18 to 30, but at the precise moment, the ward is full of 18 to 25 year olds, and they come in from a variety of things. Not a lot of males that come in even want to talk, but to talk is actually more beneficial than you keeping it in. If you don't talk, you're more likely to suffer alone.
Can I ask a question to the men in the room? Why do men not want to speak?
I think it thinks...
Sorry.
Because they...
Why do men not want to speak?
I think it's because they think if they talk out... Because they think if they talk out, it makes them look weaker, like they're showing their weaknesses.
But why?
How is that
Well,
a weakness that you're speaking
I
about?
don't think that, but that's what I think they feel. Because I don't do that. I personally do talk about... If I'm going through something, it's usually Hamzah, I'll call him straight away. How do I deal with this?
Cute.
How should I
But
go
why
about
do you, in the first place, why do you have to speak to someone about how you feel? Why can't you deal with it yourself?
First of all, I think you should process it first by yourself. But if you're still struggling, then you reach someone out. I think the thing is, people don't, like men will think, let me just do it on my own, like just solve it on my own. But then there's certain things you can't do on your own, you know? You have to actually ask for help.
It's a problem shared, there's a problem halved.
I disagree with that.
I don't think
entirely.
every problem should be shared. I think problems that you can't handle alone should be shared.
But how do you know if you can handle it alone or if you need help from other people? Because personally, I don't think you need help from other people to deal with your own problems.
You'll see it get better when you'll see it get
Well, it
worse.
depends. If it's spilling onto your other life, if you got a job and it's
Wait, that
actually
makes no
affects
sense. I'm sorry.
of when you go into work.
So what's the point of therapy then?
Sorry?
What's the point of therapy then?
To talk. I disagree with therapy, full stop.
I don't think talking helps.
Whoa.
You two need to have a war.
Can I? Okay.
No, but
talking
talking out doesn't solve the problem.
I don't think it does.
Huh?
It
Okay.
doesn't solve the
Nah,
problem.
actually, I retract. I take that back. Because it may
It
not help
helps.
for you. No.
Yes. Oh.
What you suffer is different to what other people
Yeah,
suffer.
100%.
So remember,
It's
you,
different.
like you said, football. I don't play football now. Just leave me out of that.
Wow, you're
But
like a baller.
you playing football might help you, but I wouldn't. And I'm not
Exactly.
FC for me.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't play. Let me stop. Okay, but I wouldn't ideally play football.
Yeah.
What helps? I don't even know what would help. But what would help me? Like I don't know.
But what do you like to do that helps you de-stress?
Me.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Do you watch Netflix? Do you,
No, I don't even watch anymore. I
Do you watch
just.
Love Island?
I did, but I don't watch it anymore. As I said, I like to actually read, or
There you go.
I actually like to journal on my phone, my notebook, like my
Yeah.
notes.
That's one thing
But
that
I do
men can
letters
as
to
well.
Allah. I don't, and I lock them obviously, so
Yeah.
no one goes through. But they're letters to Allah, so it's between me and Him.
But why can't it be like that straight away? Why do we have to resort to other things such as therapy or talking to people
I think-
about it?
Because
Why
I
can't we
can't
talk to
remember.
God
You know
about
what
it?
you
Why
mean?
not?
Let me
Go ahead.
have a view on this, because when I was going through it, like what I was going through, I didn't know how to go about it. Like I was thinking, like, how can I do this? So I'm doing what I usually do. I'll be playing football, but still I'm coming back home after football tired, and I'm thinking, what is there left to do for me to get this out of my head?
Yeah.
So now I'm calling my boy, obviously Imi, and then we're just talking about it, and it's letting me think about the situation a bit more, like with someone, because I can easily think about it myself and deal with it.
It's like accepting the situation.
And the thing is, it's not even. I'm not
Yeah.
calling
I
Hamzah.
just don't understand the
Do you,
logic.
no, do you know what Zaynab?
You know what's
Zaynab.
mad? I agree with him.
And I'm not even
Well,
calling
you
him
know
to
what?
solve
That's
the
it. My
problem.
point's dropped.
That's it.
not-
Zach
I'm
actually
not-
agreed with something.
We're not calling each other to solve the problem. Now, I'm not calling Hamzah and thinking after this
So
conversation.
what's the
my life-
purpose
But
of
now,
that conversation
after
if
that
the problem's
conversation,
not getting
I've
sorted?
talked about it in my head. Like my thoughts are now organised.
Why can't you talk to God about it? Why do you have to talk to another
No, but not everyone has God. No, but not everyone has
You're right.
God.
Let me get this one. Let me get this
Go
one.
ahead.
You say God, yeah?
Yeah.
God won't give you the direct answer tomorrow, will he? But furthermore, if I was speaking to Imran, if I was talking to Imran, yeah, it's the car as well.
Overnight.
But say,
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
But
but
you
that's
can't-
it.
It's like having a
but like, say I'm talking to Imran, yeah, and now I've just gone for a, like, let's say I've come from school, and Imran just told me, bro, can't lie, I'm about to go for a football session later, do you wanna come with me? That was never part of my plan during the day, but now he's hit me up and said, bro, come through. And now I've just spent that 1 hour, I could have been in my bed just chilling, dwelling on things, when I've just got my boy hitting me up for an opportunity to just kick ball, refresh my head, come back home, I'm like, you know what, that was a good session, I'm feeling good, I'm tired
And now you can attack the problem with
attack the problem, and now you're feeling like, bro, I was actually good at that football session, you know what, I might just go to the next one, and now your head's towards that, rather than being on the
negative, whatever you
No, that I totally
Yes.
agree with.
Yeah.
I understand your point. Exercise does help with your mood and it does help clear your head. But my original point is, why do you have to speak to why do you have to speak to someone else about it?
I think everyone's on their own journey. Like, if you're already comfortable with doing that, I think the best advice is, like, whatever I say to someone, I say first, whatever you're gonna tell me, tell Allah first, and then that should give you comfort in itself. But then if you still want to talk, there's no problem why you can't. But I think people have a journey in it. Some people are not accustomed to just going straight to Allah, to the prayer mat. Of course, that is the main solution, I think.
I agree.
But
I think it depends what you suffer with though, because you can't directly be talking to Allah if you're having a psychotic breakdown. You're not seeing things. Remember, your reality is different. So if I was going through a breakdown, like right now, and I was seeing X, Y, and Z, you guys may not be seeing it, but I am seeing it.
Having had the conversation with my brother there, and what he said about the fact that he speaks to his friend and that makes him organise his brain and thought process and whatever, I feel as though that is a very valid point, and very, very valid point. And yeah, I agree with him. How about that? I agree with him, because I think,
like you said as well,
I think it's a men thing though. I think it's a men thing, because I think women.
I think you're just.
Which is why
I don't know.
because they're free.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like women are more in touch with their emotions. They're able to express it better. I'm generalising. I'm generalising. Obviously, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that is a valid stereotype because it is actually in our gender, I guess. However, as I said, each individual is different. Personally, I don't really like to talk about my problems. I'm more logical about it. If something's going wrong, you find a solution. It's that simple. There's no way
I agree with you
around
as well.
Yeah.
But I think it depends on the individual. Some people are stronger than others.
I respect it. Some people might, like I said, might need medication. They might need therapy.
And I feel like.
But what do you think suits men more? What would you suggest as males?
As
to help
I
you?
think
So,
what
because
Zaynab
remember,
She said, why do they need to talk? Why do they need to tell their friends?
Tell me what to do. But Karen,
oh my God.
You said, why do we need to tell our friends? Yeah, why do we need to tell people about our mental health? It may be that affects the friendship as well. That you need to be open about it. Don't you think?
If
You
your friend
change
is
behaviour
going
as
through
well.
something,
You'll be
imagine
changing
your
behaviour.
best friend is going through something so crazy you never knew anything about it. Would you not feel a certain type of way that I could have helped?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you not feel absolutely
It
anything?
could have got worse.
Honestly, you're asking the wrong person. I wouldn't feel.
You know what?
Your sister, what about
Because-
a family member?
You're asking the wrong person to ask me that.
I just feel like
I feel like if someone's got a problem and they want to speak about it, they can. But if there's no way that I can benefit the situation, there's no point in speaking to me in the first place.
I do feel like I don't think that talking, because I know you said it does, but I feel like I don't think talking actually solves the problem. I don't think it does. It never does. If you got no money and I talk to Hamzah, I'm not gonna get money. But I might come away that conversation with a better mindset to help me get that money.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what I think. It's like setting yourself up to attack something better. I don't think that it's true. I don't think me talking to Hamzah, my problems are all solved. I'm a millionaire, but it helps me approach that with a better
Because
mindset.
when I did have my situation, Imran's phone could have been just my number coming 5 times in one day. But I went about my life and just doing my thing. But he was giving me the opportunity to give his time to me, where he can get my mind off it. Do you know what I'm saying?
or
I
like,
respect
for
that.
example, it depends on who you're speaking to.
Yeah, definitely.
So
You gotta trust
I think there's two different scenarios where you talk to people. Number one, you talk to somebody that's been through the same thing that you're going through.
Absolutely.
Or number two, you talk to somebody that's already that's better than you in that field that you're trying to go through.
Exactly.
100%.
So that's the two scenarios that I think.
I like
For example, if let's say like you said, something was going on and my friend been through the same thing, bam, I'm chatting to him, yo bro, this, that, how did you go through this, that?
Absolutely.
If he's now found a different solution to the problem, then that might help him in understanding what's going on, and it might ease him at the fact that not only have I been through this, but somebody else has been through this, and this is what they did to go over it. For example, whether that's education, let's say you're stressed, I don't know, back in the day, I remember like we all went through A-levels or whatever, but when you go through A-levels, it's a very difficult process. But you speak to people who are older than you, and you're like, how do you do this? How do you do that?
Wait, you actually did that?
Yeah, 100%.
Older brothers.
I needed that.
100%.
Really?
Really, guys?
Yeah.
Because when you go for...
That's
okay,
good.
let me give you another example. One second, let me give you another example. Let me give you another example, especially for men. If you want to get married and there's... If you want to get married and you're a single man and you're approaching marriage and you're trying to find out how it's a difficult process and you're trying to find out how the process is and how they went through it and your friend's been through it.
Yeah.
Speaking to that friend, it's not the same scenario. It's not the same scenario. I'm not saying it's the same scenario. However, and everybody's cases are different. However, there are certain things that you go through that are the same in every single situation, and you relaying that information to your friend will help you rationalize better. Second thing, if, like I said, the person that you're talking to as well is in a better place in the world than you are. For example, let's say you wanted to become a professional footballer. The guy's already a baller.
He gives you advice and no one else.
He gives you advice on the training process you have to do.
No,
That's
true.
it.
You seek advice.
And that's it. That's the same
I can
thing.
follow on from that because I'd actually played football for a high level for a minute, but then I got released from an academy where I got rejected. Basically, they said you weren't good enough. Now, obviously, that's a time of depression because a lot of footballers go through that. So now, at that moment in time, I was talking to my players that were already in the team, that were already excelling. So I'm talking to them and I'm saying, bro, what do I do? Like, I'm in a state where I'm not in a team like you are. And they're like, bro, just try out for this team, try out for that team. I'm explaining my problems to him where he's calm. He's sorted. I'm still explaining my problems. I'm released, I'm rejected. What do I do? He's like, play for this semi-pro team, play for this, try out this, you might even be seen here. He's giving me all the solutions to try something else out, which helped him. Do you know what I'm saying? So that kind of helped him. And I was in a position where I felt like I was giving up. It's like football's just rejected.
Is that something men struggle with? Because I've got a big question now. I've come across a variety of males that have suffered. And the majority is actually to do with relationships and females. As Muslim men, like you said, is marriage a big stressor that can actually deem your mental health as well as like what is it? What is the main?
Can you explain to us why it's stressful?
Give me the specific question.
What is the biggest stresses for a man? I think
for a man, I will tell you that. Wait, give me the question properly.
So, as guys, over here, the four of you, what is 3? What is the main stressor that you would say that each of you either struggled or know somebody struggled with? Like the people I've come across, I'm not joking, the majority is breakups, or marriage failure, or
relationships.
They want into more time there's a lot of relationships, or actually a lot of it is to do with drugs. Like people getting involved in the wrong crowd. So as you guys being males, tell me now from your own perspective what's done.
High expectations, and that's what it is. I'll be real.
Do you think that's culture?
Who's got the high expectations?
I think society. I wouldn't even blame it on women at all. Look, if it's society,
Can you please give us?
it's even man.
Can we get an example
Man
of
them
these
got
high
high expectations.
expectations?
Man, look. As a 21 or 20-year-old boy, you're expected nowadays to drive a Beamer, bro. You like of course it's not even.
But who expects it?
Who's expecting this?
That's what I want to know.
I don't want a Beamer. I want a Range Rover.
No, but even bro, I'm not saying you're expecting. I'm saying you're expecting.
No. I want to know.
I don't understand why people feel that.
And that's where insecurities stem through the man.
But this is just because people are just following social trends. I think that's an individual problem. If you're a victim of it, then that's a you problem.
No. I disagree. Because social media,
but do we not have a mind of our own?
But you're just in a better place, mentally fit to say that.
But you want to
some people.
But why do you want to fit in? God made us as like.
Bro, because you don't understand, not everyone is the same, but also everyone, like, if they're comfortable in that crowd, you know what I'm saying? Let's say this year, like, you've been dealing with a lot of guys that have been going through this kind of stuff.
Why are people allowing themselves to be peer pressured?
No, but it's not easy. It's not easy.
That is a human condition. Your friend. What is the common saying? Your friends tell me who you are. Whoever you chill with,
exactly.
You're going to be that person.
So if everyone around's got a BMW and you don't have one, you're going to feel a certain type of way, no matter how good you are.
It's like clothing.
Insecurity just fly out the window.
Show me your friends that tell you your future. Show me your friends that show you your future.
Absolutely.
And that's in Islam as well. Your friends.
Worst part is what if your friends, what if you're an individual that's a good individual, but your friends aren't that great? They could be drug dealers, they could be this, and they got whips that are Beamers, AMGs, whatever, but it's all drug money.
Do you know what you have to do? You just distance yourself.
You distance yourself, and that's the solution.
That's why we're talking about it now. That's the solution, you're right.
It is. It's that.
No, but you know, go back to men. what is it then, though? This is
so
about
that-
male.
yeah,
Would you
that's
take
what
the
I'm
main?
The biggest stress is-
I want to hear the solutions.
The solution is-
I don't want to hear solutions.
expectations.
I want to hear what men struggle
I
with.
think look,
From your
expectations.
own
The
point of
insecurity,
view.
the insecurities of leaving that group, because then they feel alone. They can't do it by themselves.
So you say insecurity.
Why
agree.
can't you
What
do it by
say,
yourself?
Ivy?
That's
I
what
think
I
that
that's what I want to
pressure to
understand.
be a man at such a young age, because everywhere you look, people at 21.
What does it
with-
mean to even be a man?
Nah, but
No,
you know
as
what
in
it
you're
is?
able to
You're looked
provide
down. You're
in
looked
such-
down on.
I'll be honest with you,
Yeah.
I agree, because you know how more time Muslim boys, I hear so many people say, "Oh, you should have a beard.
Yeah.
You should do
Yeah,
this. You should do that. I mean, a beard is essential. However, soon comes that. Soon comes. No. But apart from no. Apart from that though, more time. Everyone says the man has to be the alpha male in your relationship.
That's so what I meant by this. Why am I looking at the camera? Okay. Yeah. So what I meant by this alpha male thing is you've got expectations as a male, but that doesn't mean you have to be pressured into it. Yes, in terms of Islam, there are certain things men have to do.
yeah.
It's the same for women, and I know that it's hard, but that doesn't mean that it's a pressure. It just means that you have to work towards it, but it should not feel like a pressure, because something that God's telling you to do should not feel like a pressure. You should want to do it from your heart. Sorry, this isn't the Islamic podcast, but
I agree. I'm just talking about those people that might feel like it's a pressure because they're not where they want to
Are
be
you
right
giving
now.
the pressure though?
me,
By
like, right
saying
now.
that, but aren't you adding pressure to the situation by saying that a man should be like that?
Yeah.
If I
If it's a guy that's not there yet.
Okay, let's ask the men.
What's
Am I
that?
adding pressure?
Let me hear this
From
point. Now, let's say your point.
No, but I'm
If I flipped it on a woman, it would be completely different.
Go ahead. What's the
And
question?
we both know that.
What? No. What's the question?
I'm with you.
No. Before we go, flip it. No, you have to flip it.
I'm not gonna flip it,
But you have to. That's the
No, but
only
it's
way
a
you can have
topic.
it.
Men and
Topic
mental
men and
health. No,
mental
women.
Alright.
We can do it on the next topic.
Right.
You know.
No, I wouldn't
But
feel
some-
different.
all
I
I'm
feel
saying
the
is-
same. I'd say it's not a pressure. You have to do it.
No,
I
Work
agree.
towards it. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever it may be,
But I'm speaking.
it shouldn't feel as a
This is-
pressure.
We're speaking for people that might not be there.
Now 1 second.
I'm not there. I don't feel pressure.
1 second. Pressure is individualistic, right? For example, I deal with pressure. I personally think in a good manner because I like being under pressure situations. When I'm not under pressure situations, I don't perform to my best. That's just how I am. Some people are different. Some people, if you put them through a pressure situation, for example, I have family members that if you put them through a pressure situation, they don't like it and they don't like to deal with it. Completely different. Hence why in this situation, for example, if this was applied to myself, I would say yes. If it was applied to somebody else, maybe not. And this is the difference. It's individualistic. So you try to say something to somebody, could work on somebody, it couldn't work on somebody else. But that's why we're created in such an amazing way where
I just don't think the word pressure should be used. Yeah, some people can't. I don't want to call it an expectation, even though it is, because I think it's the word expectation that creates pressure. But it just should be something you should
given.
try to.
You know, if I called you, if I was going through something, and you used to call me and say, "Yo, Hamzah, can't lie, you need to deal with this by yourself." Say you said that to me.
Okay.
You know what I do? I said, "No, Zaynab said that. Let me try and do it by myself." I called you to get that advice, and I'm dealing with it by myself. Now, because I've done that, I've learned from it by doing it individually.
Now probably next time he won't.
Next time
he's
I
gonna
won't
do
do
it.
it. I'm gonna just do it because I learned that from you.
Is that a bad thing or is that a good thing?
It's a good
Let's
thing
see.
because here it is. I called you.
So it could be both in this
Bro,
situation.
I called you for the advice, though. Don't forget. That was how I, as a man, dealt with men.
That was your question.
Can I?
Do you know what I mean? But I wouldn't call you. I'm not saying I would call you.
Why not?
Because I took my hand
Can I add my 2 pence
That's
in
not nice.
quickly?
Yeah, of
But
course.
I'm
No,
actually very
not like that. I'm just saying.
I don't
I actually hope.
think it's just always
Next time.
good
Next time.
because say you rang Zainab.
Yeah.
Zainab was
Why am
like,
I the example?
No, I'm just saying.
you do you kind of
Yeah.
thing. That leads a lot to
It
people
depends on
actually
depends on
how she
situation.
said
struggling.
it. If he says you do you, that's different.
No, but even if
No.
you say it, do you know what it is? There are some people that need, they need advice.
I guess in this
They
situation,
cannot
Hamzah's-
do it alone.
Yeah,
but they
Hamzah's
cannot do
by
it alone
himself,
because everyone's built different.
Yeah.
Our mindsets
I
are
know.
built different.
Yeah.
The way we were
need to
brought up was
recognise
different.
Yeah.
We can have similarities, but remember we're different. We're completely different. We don't look the same. The only thing the same about us is we are here for Allah,
Yeah.
and also we all bleed the same blood.
Absolutely.
We're red blood. That's it. Yeah.
But say I was in a situation, where it was like more individual. Because maybe I'm just trying to find a different approach to things. Not necessarily I need someone, I just need an ideal. You know what I'm saying? But I'd call Zainab for it because I know Zainab's a very individual, like she can do it herself. So I'm trying to take inspiration from her and she'd be the best person for it. Whereas if I spoke to you and I called you, you would spend that time on the phone and tell me. I wouldn't ask.
Do you know why I'm saying that though? Well, thank you for saying that.
I wouldn't expect.
doing our phone calls, but
I wouldn't expect Zainab to say. I wouldn't expect Zainab to say, do your own thing. She'll say, bro, Hamzah, can't lie. I think you could do this.
No, I'll just promote like rational thinking.
Yeah. But here's my question. Then why are the rates for males and suicide rates high? Why? Why are they high? Because we could talk about what we think about, do you know what, pressure, no pressure, this and that, in and out, hokey pokey, we turn around, all of this. But why are the rates
The reality is the problem is there still.
What is it? I'm talking about today. I'm talking about now.
Today it's like...
Why? Why are men
It comes down
suffering?
to stigma. The
Yeah,
stigma of
talk
it.
about it.
And how there's specific gender roles. You know how in their life, I feel like they wouldn't be more likely to speak about their mental health. And I feel like that can relate to why suicide rates are going up.
Can I ask something to the men? Because in my opinion, I think it's all to do with communication. So, okay, I'll give you an example. We're meant to film this podcast at 5 o'clock, for example, but we've run over. We run over by 10 minutes. I could either sit in a room by myself, getting all stressed and worked up, and then that would lead to my own mental health problems, or I could just speak to the group and say, guys, should we go in? You deal with it and you communicate it. You tell people we're 10 minutes behind schedule, so we have to sort it out.
But men don't like to communicate.
That's what I want to know.
If it's
Men do not like to communicate. But some men don't communicate though. Some men will actually. You say you want to talk to your friend, and you say you want to do this, and you say you want to do
No,
that.
I think you
It's
should
all
talk
fair
about
enough
it before it
saying
even gets to that stage.
Speak up when something's happening rather than...
You have to. It's about, you have to be open with
I think
other
that's just
people.
growing up as a man. You have to be able to develop that. Some people are just lucky they have a father who's just built.
Can I ask that? Do you feel, does that
Father
play
figure,
different?
100%.
Father figure.
Do you think? Can you
Like
say
me
that?
seeing my dad.
Alhamdulillah, I've got a good dad.
Yeah,
he's got a blessed dad. His dad taught me a lot of things, but like, having a good dad, you can see.
I love my dad too.
You can see. him
No,
as a role-
seriously.
You see your dad as a role model and how he is so patient, how he deals with things, and you appreciate it so much because you want to be just like him because you're his son.
Nah, it's true, but not everyone takes that for granted. Because I tell you something, I love my dad. My dad's the best person in the world to me. Not other than Allah, but like as in, my dad is amazing. But then, not drawing anyone out, but I see certain people in my family who don't adequately see my dad as we do. And my dad is so open and will treat everyone the same. He will give you the same advice. He's so educated. Like he'll read the Quran to my friends. He'll teach them if he has to. He can. But then why are other people not seeing that worth? But I can.
Because you appreciate it. Because people, and you
Parents
appreciate
raise you differently.
And also, you see how you're saying like all these
suicide,
saying all these suicide rates. I don't know my figures for that, but I will tell you this: maybe they didn't have that fatherly figure then to kind of grow them up.
That's a big thing.
But also another thing, maybe it was the environment they choose to be around at that time just didn't help them. Kind of, and maybe when they distanced themselves from that group,
that's when you can grow
they either felt very lonely and they just didn't know what to do because they didn't have anyone for them at that moment, or they just individually grew themselves and they just outbeat themselves.
I think the whole thing is recognize the problem. Your mindset about dealing with yourself, that is right. That's how it should be. But certain people are just trapped in situations, and it's not even trapped. Of course, you should just.
Of course, they've got their own way of dealing with it. I respect the way they deal with it. I just don't understand the
thing
reasoning.
is because they're just trapped. Yeah.
I want to because I'm nosy.
The thing is though, like people are just trapped in that environment where all of their friends don't deal with their problems right, so then they don't deal with their problems right. But I think the biggest thing is recognizing that.
Don't you think these are the people being affected by
the most?
They are contributing to these numbers of high suicide rates, and that's because they are not dealing with things.
But they might not be able to recognise their problem.
I think that's the biggest issue.
That's why they
don't think it's wrong. They just think that's how it is. You don't.
And it's like why they feel like that. They tell themselves why they feel like that and everything.
But they don't even know that it's a problem in the first place. They just deal with that constantly. It's a cycle. It's a pattern. We live in patterns.
And if they've got good friends, they can highlight the problem.
Then you need to get a good friend, and then they tell you something completely different. No, you need to.
Okay, but as men, how do you find these good friends?
You need to put yourself in good environments. So
how do you do that? If you're in that mindset of I don't know that I'm doing something wrong,
things will start to show.
You know what it is, yeah? it's literally the environment. So let's say this year you find a group of friends that are going to areas that are really not they're toxic or they're just not good environments. Let's say there's a group of guys that keep going to parties. You can easily understand that's not somewhere to go constantly. Cool, maybe some guys are there 1-2 times, but then you see a different group of friends that are doing something that you like, extolling like football.
Closer to Allah, or like just
Allah,
good thing. They go football and they pray
I mean,
afterwards.
naturally, you distance yourself from the people that you perceive as negative.
And then you go to the positive.
Yeah.
Say I'm a footballer and I enjoy football, I would probably 1-2 times I might go partying with the guys there, but they keep on going. They don't play football though. But I'd rather go to the ones that are playing football.
I think it's like it depends on that individual. And you're right. It depends on the individual for them to make that choice. We all have choices. It's that choice. Do I go closer to like the positive or the closer to the negative? If you keep following the same pattern, then I guess you can say, yeah, you need to sort yourself out. But it's that.
How would you know if you're not in the right state?
Make that choice. Even if you're not in the right state of mind, though, we have. I think it's
choice.
isn't it? You know what's right and wrong. It doesn't matter where you're from, where you're born. You have that inner.
True.
You know what's right and wrong in it. You know when you're doing something wrong. Even if you're in the depths of wrong and you've been doing your whole life, you know deep down when you do that again, it feels that.
So
guilt. When you keep pushing that away and you go and do the wrong again, then it has to be easier.
We were talking about expectations earlier, and Zainab was saying something before the podcast. Yeah, it was about bigorexia or something.
Yeah, bigorexia, like eating disorders.
Yeah.
So, like for example, how you're saying, like some people go to football to deal with things. If they're in that environment, even though it's like inherently good, it could lead to. It's having that balance because it could lead to like
extreme. Just keep going.
Remember, you look at somebody and you're like, oh my god, I want to be as hench as him. Or, oh my god, I want.
Does that happen? Do you
guys feel that way? I'll be wrong. Yeah.
The thing is, look.
Why do people take steroids? More time they just
don't
want to
they don't need it.
I know.
Yeah. Like
I
think that's another societal expectation, but also just by yourself as well.
I do think
as a man, you want to be big. As a man, you want to be big. It's an alpha male thing. You have to.
Because that's considered.
You know what? I do think men get told they need a lot of expectations, and I say that because ideally I wouldn't want to marry a guy if they didn't have certain things.
Yeah.
Like someone would want to marry me.
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, no, it's honest. I'll be very honest. More time, you look, and Zainab, you could don't do that, but it's true. You know, you'll be like, oh my god, I want them to do this. I want them to pray 5 times a day. I want them to do this. I want them to do that. I want them to do this. You can't expect someone to do everything.
Okay, I think
it's basics in Islam, but not everyone follows the basics.
Yeah.
Remember?
Stay away from them.
No, but remember, everyone's different. Everyone's on a different path to Islam. We're all finding our way.
We're trying to help each other.
No one can turn around and tell me they're the best Muslim here.
You're not allowed to say that first of all, because that's judging of.
Yeah, no one can turn around and tell me.
Personally, I just stay away from the person and let them deal with their own problems.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But
if someone does reach out,
then of course you're gonna help.
You have to.
Let me ask you
because of that.
Because of my views.
No, because if they feel like okay, you're gonna speak to them logically, that's fine. But what if that's not how they deal with things? And then say maybe they're trying to get closer to God, but they don't feel like they can.
You know what? At the end of the day, I think it's a personal journey. I don't think anyone needs to tell you that for you to get to that stage. You'll feel it.
What about
Sorry, this isn't the Islamic one. But
sorry, no, I was going to ask as well. But when you say personal journey, that's like when people go to drugs. A lot of males smoke weed.
Yeah.
And they turn that into letting their feelings out because they'd rather on a zoo and get over it.
No, but hear this, you guys talking about drugs and mental health, that I think is a temporary kind of solution. It's a weak mindset too. But once that's gone, you're going back to that thing mess again, but even worse now.
Can I tell you something as well?
Tell me, please. That was a bit.
You didn't look that enthusiastic. Give me some. Yeah, that's better. You know, you said it was a solution, but it's a solution some people can't get out of, like gambling, like others, and you know that leads to their mental health actually deteriorating. So
especially
your
gambling,
solution,
you lose all your money.
Oh my god!
Then you've got other problems to deal with.
You know what? Can I just say, thank Allah, we have so much guidance in the Quran of what we should do and what we shouldn't do, because the stuff we shouldn't do really makes sense why we should not do it.
There's a reason.
We may look at other, we may look at people and think, oh my god, I wish I could do that. Oh my god, Nah, seriously.
Because then people are trying to get out, but they can't.
SubhanAllah,
they say our religion's so strict, but if anything, it's making it's beautiful.
It's stopping you from getting hurt. It's stopping you from feeling these unwanted emotions.
I'm not free, but you are free. You're in control of what you're.
We do have free will at the end of the day.
You're controlling yourself from these addictions. Because you're not addicted, you're not in control.
But then we always do have to remember, every human's going to sin. There is
100%.
no perfect person.
But then, and it doesn't matter
feeling
though. We say religion matters to us, but you may also be Muslim and still suffer.
Remember,
I've seen so many.
100%.
Remember, Allah tests those He loves,
Yeah.
and the test may be you having a blip with your mental health.
There is verses where it says that Allah tests you what you can bear. So even if that person is going through that and they're really suffering, one comfort is that even though that person may be suffering so much, they're the only person that can deal with it. So it's like Allah telling you, by the way, you can get through this. You can get through this. That verse in itself has given me myself so much comfort.
There's something
Very
else.
after hardship comes in.
It's during that hardship as well. It's not even after. You know that hardship itself builds you up.
I want to just come on the point Zach was saying earlier about talking to elders. So I'll give you an example where like there was an older that was not even practicing before. He was like 18, 19, he wasn't practicing. Now he's 24 and he's a proper like on deen guy. He's doing his thing. Now me as a younger, like I'm just trying to see where he's got at, like how has he got there when I know his past as well. So when I'm going through something, I would call on him and say, look bro, how did you get here and what was your direction? He's approaching me with deen. And I might not be a Muslim, I may be like a non-Muslim, someone else, but me approaching him, he brought me deen. So it's me talking to him that's giving me that good advice and that's brought me closer to like deen. It could be football, it could be anything, but from him it was deen. So I think when you're talking to someone else for your mental health, and as a man, if you choose the right people, you kind of
not even
excel.
that.
And
I think as well, we don't talk about society and you don't like the word pressure, what pressures, yeah? I think one thing as well is because we tend to like dismiss the fact that, you know, in the Quran they talk about, in the Quran they refer to men as, men, when they talk about important things they say rijal.
slowly.
Okay, basically in the Quran when it talks about matters of importance it uses the Arabic term rijal in it, but for other things when it talks about men it uses a different term. I'm not sure what it is, but it's not the same. And it's to do, I watched like a lecture of Muhammad Hoblos and he talks about what society makes you think like a man, like big, like what you said, where's the bigorexia? Big, strong. And even in the Prophet ﷺ time, he came to the masjid, they're all wrestling, and he was like, why are you wrestling? And they were saying to see who the strongest man is. And then he said immediately, it's because the strongest man, Rijal, is someone who fears Allah the most, worships Allah the most. And I think it's because society tells you as a man, you need to get money, you need to be strong, you need to be afmel. Of course, he's still materialistic, but being a man first. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he did everything, but Salah, his heart was turned to Allah and his head was on the world, innit? So I feel like it's because people dismiss that. They say, oh, like the pressures, rather than succumbing to society's pressures, you've got to actually look at what Allah wants you to do, what He needs you to do.
So we've got everything given to us at the end of the day. Rajat, like the literal translation from Arabic to English is man.
Yeah, and that is the strongest one, yeah.
Honestly, that's the only way to go about it. Of course, like I said, everyone's got their own journey and you shouldn't feel pressured to become that man straight away, but you should look at the characteristics of the Prophet.
Work towards it.
Yeah.
The way it is. So.
Everyone's got their own journey and their own time. Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with that. You're right.
I think that's right, isn't it?
No, it's the same for women and men. I know this is a
look
men
at
podcast.
female role models. Why is the Prophet?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And learn about.
There's a lot of like.
Even the Prophet stories,
they
apply to everyone.
And you know they break society's
genders.
rules. They break society's rules. You know, like Musa alayhi salam.
Yeah.
Like he lived in his wife's house. His father-in-law gave him a job, and the girl that wanted to marry him, like she kind of like nudged her dad, like I want to marry him. Did you get it? So she basically proposed. What is today? The man has to propose. The man has to do this. I'm not saying. And even when the Prophet Khadija radiallahu anha looked at him and told her friend, oh, I like him. You know, would you be interested? And he said yes. But in us to say what we say, oh, he's not even a man. Prophet is the man. Do you get it? And that breaks every society's rule.
That's very
true.
Dedicate, I'll propose with Crocs. I'll give the little.
No, I think that's
all of these stories.
It's to do with culture as well. I
culture,
think people
religion,
do get culture and religion.
Religion first.
Because in Arabic we've got this word called aib when a woman wants a man. That just means it's just. How do I explain that word in English? It's like
give them the ick.
Yeah, you just don't. It's called aib. Like you shouldn't do that. Like don't do that. That's what the society norms are actually saying. But why
in Islam, look how many of these great people, Prophet Sallallahu Musa alayhi salam, look how they did it. Like it was, the society was broken there. Like you would look at them and think, wow, what? Like the woman proposed him. He's not even. But they are the men. They are the
Guys, you guys have had sensational points throughout. Honestly, sensational points. We've discussed expectations and how that affects men's mental health. We've spoken about directly how men and mental health is related. So I'd like to thank every single one of you, Jazakallah Khayr, from either side, man and woman. Especially the one to my left, she has a lot to say today. A lot to say. But Jazakallah Khayr, thank you so much for listening to another episode.